Hello and welcome back to Les Oderants. This is Season 4, Episode 7, and we are just back in 2025, full of beans and all that jazz. I am Dan, and I am joined this week by Ben and James. Say hello, Ben and James.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I can tell you that James is pretty fucking cheesed off with his IT setup at the moment. So, but I would like to know, how was Christmas for you guys? Did you have fun? Did you eat lots and lots of turkey and all that stuff? James?
Yes, I did. I didn't eat any turkey because we never have turkey.
Did you not?
No.
Why?
Because we never have turkey. We just always have chicken.
What's your fucking problem with turkey, mate?
I don't have a problem with it. Do you know what? It's nice sometimes, but
it's fucking never nice.
Well, who the fuck
it's
has
dry and bland and fucking ugh.
Well, I don't know. Like, I used to like them fucking Bernard Matthews little turkey gummies. They were nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, we always have chicken because, I mean, who's got an oven that can fit a big bloody turkey in it?
Yeah. So I've got a rangy oven sort of thing. It's in two ovens. It's always a fucking squeeze. But we don't get a turkey. It's always like a turkey crown, you know. So like it fit. Yeah. I can't fucking fit an actual turkey in there. I'm reminded as well that a mate and I spent quite a long time before the internet arguing about how big a tuna was. And for some reason, I thought because tuna came in cans, it would probably be quite small. And he insisted it was the size of a table. And I thought a table was quite a strange unit of measurement. So I've always now got this sort of vision of tuna as being this real weird fucking rectangular fish.
Massive. Like
they are massive. I know. Since the internet, we've been able to smooth this one out. As well. The internet has allowed us to answer all sorts of things, like exactly how old is Ted Danson, who clearly must be well into his second century. I also forgot, because I'm an absolute prick and because we're total amateurs, I forgot to say Fliss is not with us this week because Fliss is a treacherous weasel and we're never letting her come back. As everybody knows, Fliss has got some other shit to deal with and will be back with us as soon as humanly possible. So you just treated to the three of us this week. So, chicken. James, you enjoyed your chicken.
Yeah, it was nice. When you've got kids around and stuff, it's quite mental, really. It's not really for me. I work a lot over Christmas. And
oh, really?
Yeah, not like on the main days, you know what I mean? But like in between, I just have to go to work. And it's kind of shit because like no one's really in, but there's still work. But it's just
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that fucking time. The new company I've joined, they basically tell people that they need to take the 3 days, whatever it is, between Christmas and New Year off, unless there's like critical, like operational stuff you're doing. Yeah. You basically, those days you take off. See you later, which actually works out really, really well. Was everyone in good health, James?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I ever am, I'm all right.
Yeah, quite.
Owner, aren't I?
Well, my wife was testing the NHS by getting herself fucking pneumonia and being hospitalised for 5 days, which was slightly fucking annoying, if I may say so.
It was annoying for her.
Yeah, I'm not really that arsed about how she felt about it, to be honest. It was more fucking annoying for me, having to go back and forth.
That's horrendous, having to be in hospital with that.
Yes, it wasn't great. And by the way, for anyone listening, if you would like to experience, some of the most interesting parts of life's carnival, I suggest you trot along to Wythenshawe A&E department. Pretty well any time, day or night. You're guaranteed to find someone doing something fucking crazy or weird. It's just the most bizarre place on earth.
I have such a phobia of A&E, man. It's just a terrifying environment, isn't it? It's just everything in there is either disgusting, terrifyingly scary, slightly unhinged. It's just horrible.
Just completely unhinged. I actually had to take my daughter to A&E earlier this week. We had to go at night, so we went at kind of 11 p.m. on it was in the middle of the week, like a Wednesday night or something, and we were there annoyingly till like 5 a.m. because obviously they're like chronically under resourced and stuff. But there was this woman who was talking, like shouting into a mobile phone, which she had on speakerphone. You know, everyone can hear the whole conversation, and on the other end of the line is an Irish guy, a voice. And I couldn't get much of the conversation, but what I did hear was, yeah, so she's 8 months pregnant and she's got 4 tea bags up her fanny. Which is like, what? What the fuck, man? And that was that was the most normal thing that happened that night. It's just, honestly, Wythenshawe A&E is fucked up. It's completely off the charts. Anyway.
Wow. Okay.
Neither of you.
This is a Perfume podcast, guys.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I trust Ben, you didn't end up in A&E, nothing seriously unwell. What did you eat? Because you're a vegan or a vegetarian?
No tea bags in any orifices, no?
No tea bags in any orifices.
This is a shame.
And just like regular food, because me and Jess are like both like vegetarians. Well,
regular food?
More or less of... Yeah, well, like not Christmas dinner, because we're like, we ain't got kids or anything, and we're just like, fuck that shit. So we had some crackers and just had regular dinner. And
do you eat cheese?
My parents came over. Yeah. So I'm not a vegan,
right? Okay.
And neither is Jess. We're both just like vegetarians, but like, although Jess eats a lot of like vegan, like cheese and that, I don't know why.
Ooh, gross.
Just sort of self punishment.
Yeah.
Like no, we just had like regular food because I'm not fucking cooking a roast, bugger that. So we just had like just regular dinner and that.
Lovely.
But we did have like the knickknacks in the evening.
Nice knickknacks. You don't watch movies. You've been DJing. Like Ben's been DJing.
Yes. And then so. But yeah, no one was ill. Everyone was good.
That's
for the
good.
first time in years, actually managed to see family because, let's say, no one had COVID, so that was really good.
Lovely.
So it was a really nice Christmas, actually. Really chill, really nice.
Good. I am glad.
No A&E visits.
No
dry turkey.
No. I could do with like, I don't know, a 6-month run now with no A&E visits. That would be creme brulee. Okay, well, let's talk about perfume, shall we, I suppose? I mean, as you said, James, it is a perfume podcast. People don't want to hear about, Wythenshawe A&E for whatever reason. Bloody ingrates. What perfume news?
I said that because I haven't really got any perfume stuff to talk about.
well, let's go back to talking about inserting tea bags in our bodily cavities.
Yeah, we might as well.
Well, I do have some perfume news, but it's not mine. It was Ben's. And Ben, you saw Rog, didn't you? You saw Uncle Rog.
I did. I was walking around Sainsbury's. So he does live, or he's from like my city. He's from Brighton, and I think Roger Dove headquarters is in Brighton as well. So he must live local still. But I've never seen him. I never expected. I was walking around Sainsbury's of all places, coming out, and there was this bloke, and I thought, Jesus, that looks just like Roger Dove. But the problem is I sort of thought that and carried on walking. And then before I looked, I sort of did a double take and turned around, and I was like, it is Roger Dove. But I was already past him by that point. And he was headed towards the bogs, like headed towards the toilet. And I thought, I can't go and say to him, like, Rog, give us a bottle of amber. Like, in that situation,
follow him.
Can you? You just have to let him go.
Follow him into the shitter.
Follow him into the toilet.
Stand like unnervingly close to him at the urinals. Hello, Roger.
Just pop over the cubicle. Are you really a perfumer?
No, but he looked really normal, which is what threw me off. Because at first
he looked normal.
No, he had like on a black jacket and black trousers and a black woolly hat, which was like, that's pretty calm for Rog.
What was he? Was he off to like rob someone or something?
I don't know. But then when I did the double take, I was like, that looked like Roger Dove, but his looks too normal. And then I did a double take and I turned around and I noticed that with that black hat, black jacket, black trousers, then a bright sequin-adorned pair of Louboutins. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's definitely Roger
Bingo.
Dove. And
Bingo.
By that point, I was too far past him, so I didn't go and introduce myself and say, by the way, I've got a podcast where we constantly slag you off.
I mean, we don't constantly slag him off.
To be fair, we're all very nice about his perfumes.
Yeah. But I am sort of pleasantly surprised that he walks amongst us humans and does things like goes to the bog at Sainsbury's. Yeah. I
Not
think
even Waitrose. See, if I was in Waitrose, I would have gone like, "Oh, that's Roger Dove." But I was in Sainsbury's.
That's Roger Dove heading for a dump.
Why do you think he'd have like protection or something?
Close protection guards.
Waitrose. Do you know what I mean? I thought he'd be a or a Marks and Spencer. He'd be a posh shopper, wouldn't he?
Yeah, you would have thought so. He doesn't strike. I mean, I don't think you'd bump into Roger Dove in Asda. I mean, American.
So now I'm doubting that. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if he's in Sainsbury's, it's only the next rung on the ladder, isn't it? It's.
Our American team must be really enjoying this. Us naming supermarkets. I don't know. Asda is Walmart. Yeah. So basically, this is the equivalent of Ben bumping into Roger Dove by the toilets in Walmart. That's how to interpret that.
Yeah, and it truly happened. I'm not even making it up.
I know. I actually, because you were so excited to tell us you put it in the WhatsApp, and then I turned the WhatsApp into a video and put it on the Instagram. So it's like you going, "Oh my god, I just seen Uncle Rog." Like James was going, "Yeah, so off for a dump, fucking Sainsbury's." Unbelievable. Well, that was nice. Any new perfumes, Ben?
Yeah, I bought new perfumes. I bought. I waited till after Christmas and then bought a gift set of the Issey Miyake Le Sel de Issey because I liked it when I smelt it, but it just wasn't. I'm not going to pay retail for it, but I'll get it in a sale. Do you know what I mean? So I got that, and that's lovely. It's not this time. It's not really a winter perfume, but I've still been wearing the shit out of that.
Is that a Quentin Biche you want?
It is a Quentin Biche, yeah. So and it's like. It's got that sort of like sharp metallic-y kind of shininess, like sort of sparkly vibes. But it's really just like a citrus and salt thing with like a kind of heavy kind of that masculine musky kind of base of like, that you kind of might expect from a designer sort of masculine perfume. But it's really nice. I really like it. It's nothing special. It's a bit crap, but it's nice. Do you know what I mean?
A bit of crap, but it's nice.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's not going to blow houses down. Do you know what I mean? And it's not creatively sort of exciting, really, in any sort of way. But it is pleasant, and the saltiness does sort of set it aside to make it at least a bit interesting, if you know what I mean. And it sort of maintains that interest throughout, I think, just enough to sort of set it aside and make it worth wearing. So yeah, I've got that, and that was enjoyable. I wore that quite a lot actually. I wore Enigma Parfum pour Homme on Christmas Day because I thought
nice. That's very lovely.
I wore Oud Infinity on one of the days. Maybe it was Boxing Day,
dirty
or
bastard.
Christmas Eve. Might have been Christmas Eve. I wore Oud Infinity. One of the days. Yeah, that was nice. But other than that, anything new, Fire Within, been wearing a lot of that. Strange Love.
Nutty bastard.
And everyone hates it. Everyone hates it. I've not had a single person say to me that's not. In fact, the complete opposite. Everyone has said, "What is that? It's revolting." Which I just think they're all wrong because I think it's brilliant. I still love it to bits. I've been wearing it loads.
So I have a friend who has a theory that when people compliment you on your perfume, they're not really saying you smell nice. They're really just saying, I can smell you. I can notice your perfume. But I think that theory is proven demonstrably wrong when people are telling you that your perfume is fucking horrendous. Because
I think they mean it, yeah.
Yeah, because if they were saying your perfume smells nice, then that would be a compliment. Or under his theory, they would simply be observing that they can smell you, so they would say it smells nice. But actually, they're not. They're saying it's awful.
I'll chuck out an alternative theory to that, right? It's that if riffing on that theory, if someone is saying to you that they can smell you rather than, they're saying, oh, it's a nice perfume, but what they're really saying is I can smell you. And that's, in a very British way, an underhand way of saying I can smell you and I don't want to, right?
Yes, so please stop wearing so much perfume.
Exactly. So at least when they're saying I don't like that, at least they've made a real opinion rather than just saying I don't want your perfume near me, but I'm too afraid to tell you that. At least they're saying, like, I don't like that. It's evoking an emotion from them. So surely that's good, isn't it? I'll take that. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially the strange love way, isn't it? We'd rather invoke an emotion than blandness. Fair enough. James, can you remember what you were wearing much of over Christmas?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, Atelier Cologne Santal Carmine. That one, which is a kind of faux sandalwood with like kind of pink fluffy sort ofness to it. I really like it. It's kind of a bit shit, really, but I still like it. And then this,
I like it and it's shit. You're both giving it I like it, but it's shit today.
Yeah,
J-Hag.
Yeah, J-Hag Moscow Mule, which is based on that cocktail that you get in a kind of copper thing. Have you ever had one of them?
I've never had one, but I've heard Moscow.
It's like you get them in like a copper cup. Those like copper cups that you can get. It's like a little tankard.
Tankard. Yeah. Nice. Great word.
Well, they do them in like posh.
Is it a vodka based Moscow Mule?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of like almost like a mojito or something with vodka instead. It's kind of got lime in it. It's quite sharp. I seem to recall.
But anyway, that's had one.
Yeah, well, this is supposed to be the vibe of this. I love this, right? And I could so easily hate it because it's very ambroxy. It's very woody, sort of iron-owned, ISO super, that kind of like really minimal shit perfume that you just want to go. I mean, you could say that about loads of J-Hags, couldn't you? I
don't really know the brand, not well.
They're a bit eccentric molecules-y. They're very simplistic. I really like them because they're unapologetically synthetic, and I think that can be a good thing. Anyway, I really love this Moscow Mule. It was hyped by loads of like influencers and stuff to the point where people were like, "Oh, fuck off with that." It was one of the first ones where people got really like there was a backlash against it. But I thought it was superb when I tried it, and they've got one called like Over Easy or something like that. They've got Sunny Side Up or something.
Sunny Side Up, yeah.
I love all those ones, man. They're just the simple, like musky, like aroma chemical shit, but they're good. I mean, should they?
I hate the name.
What? Juliet has a gun.
Yeah. Does it mean something? Is it like from a movie or something? I don't know.
Not a clue.
It's just never appealed to me. Juliet has a gun. It's like, that's a fucking stupid name for a perfume brand. Juliet has a gun. Oh, really? What's that got to do with it?
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Their branding really reminds me of that kind of like I suppose early or mid noughties emo girl sort of vibes.
Yeah.
But they're
I know exactly what you mean. Like certainly the first ones they brought out, the more femme-ish ones,
all sort of like red and black and stuff.
That's pure like emo kind of shit. They've kind of moved slightly away from that, but they're still, I don't even know what they've done recently, but I quite like them. I quite like them as a brand.
Nice. Yeah. And what was your Christmassy fragrance? Do you have a regular Christmas scent?
Nothing. I do, but I didn't wear it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wore it over Christmas, but I didn't wear it on Christmas Day, I don't think. Let me find it here.
And he's gone. He's just wandered off to find perfume.
I've got it. It's only there. This one. Noel au
Balcon. Yes. No, Christmas on the balcony. Is that right? Because we talked about that before, and I just remember the translation.
Yeah, so I wear that over Christmas. I don't have anything specific for Christmas Day or anything. Been slightly low energy on the perfume front. I've been wearing that a bit.
Is that the pirate one?
Which one's... Oh, Platinum Blend.
Platinum Blend, this one's called. It's got a kind of... like how they relic like Stratocasters and stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, like somebody's put a fucking tea bag on it and stuff.
Tied it to the back of their car and dragged it down the road.
Yeah. No, that's what they do with like the fretboards and stuff to make them look old. They like dab tea bags on them. Yeah. Anyway.
And then you pay like fucking $4,000 for it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And make a really nice guitar, smash it up and sell it to you like custom shop. Bizarre. That's when it's not a guitar podcast. That's like, yeah.
Well,
Let's talk about
it's never really
rash.
stopped.
Come on.
Okay.
So, and also, I wore this the other day. I love this.
See, I don't think I've ever tried that. That is Lancôme Hypnose for men, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And I've seen that so many times, and sometimes it's like £12 or something on the internet, and I think I should buy that. And then for some reason, I never do, and I've never smelt it. But what's it like?
It's very cardamom-y, nutmeggy, very sort of powdery, with that kind of cardamom, nutmeg kind of vibe. It's quite evening wear. It's quite classy. I mean, it's a great alternative to things like a Dior Homme. It was kind of around all that sort of time, and I mean, look at the bottle. The bottle is an
it's amazing,
like work of art. That's only the small one as well, and it's just lovely. And really good fragrance. I bought a backup bottle because I thought it had been discontinued. I've thought it'd been discontinued loads of times, but it hasn't. And they are quite cheap. So, but even still, I still need a backup. So,
I keep meaning to pick one up at some point just to try it. Nice.
I've also been wearing this a little bit.
Cheers. Opium, that's the women's one.
Yeah, it's the Secret de Parfum.
Oh,
do you remember we got some samples of it?
Off Rich,
yeah. It's a rare flanker to Opium, obviously the ladies' opium. It's very similar in terms of it's a kind of spicy amber, all that sort of stuff. But it's slightly lighter, just a touch. It's not as like rough and like, because I get quite kind of domineering kind of sexual vibes from the original.
The original's quite oppressive and heavy, isn't it? It's quite.
Is this the point where I tell you that was what my mum used to wear when I was a kid?
I bet she did.
That feels like an inappropriate juncture to mention that. Thank you.
That's wrong.
No, bro, dude, your mom's hot.
No, but that's the thing. It is a thing that mums do rock. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Did you ever think about that?
There are a great many things wrong with you, Jones, but that's absolutely fine. Nice. I don't actually remember that one. I think I remember us discussing it, but I don't remember it well. But clearly, one you enjoy. Yeah. Anything else you can remember?
I've got this as well. So I got another
what's
vintage. It's Rocas Femme.
Rocas Femme?
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing. I don't know that Rocas Femme. It's like,
is it?
Yeah, it's incredible. So I picked that up. I've got a few little minis and stuff, but I thought I need a full bottle, so I did. So yeah, that's just a little taste. It's not the full 14. Sorry, guys.
No,
but it's just a little taste. You know, I've been wearing loads of other things.
Just a little taster.
But,
yeah, but you didn't write them down, and you're not prepared to share.
No, I didn't write them down. And I've just been enjoying Perfume without feeling the pressure to write about it or talk about it or anything. Just let it exist on my skin and
let it be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I wore the other day? Actually, I wore for a long time. Killian Black Phantom. Which is
nice.
like, everybody sort of
the ultimate hangover perfume.
Yeah. But I didn't like it as much as I used to. I don't know why, but it just didn't really ring for me this time. I haven't worn it for about a good year or so, but...
Yeah, I eventually gave up on it, I think. I sort of decided I just didn't really like it enough to warrant keeping it. It used to be my go-to perfume for hangovers, but then I think the association with hangovers may have ruined it completely for me. So it's a bit oppressive. But I was feeling a little bit jaded about perfume in the run-up to Christmas, and sort of like, I can't seem to find anything new and interesting, and it's all a bit shit and stuff. And, you know, I was looking back on my top 30 or whatever it was of the year, and even some of those I'm looking at going, is this really my top 30? It's like, some of these are a little bit kind of flaccid. Is that, I don't know if that's the right word. That's probably not a great word, actually.
You like a nice tumescent perfume, don't you?
Yeah. Engorged.
Throbbing perfume.
Yeah. Unfortunately, without Fliss, we turn into a bunch of degenerate fucking idiots. So
she's the worst. She's the worst.
Yeah, no, exactly. She is the worst. So quite a few of those perfumes. I mean, they're all good, but some of them, you know, if I'm brutally honest, some of them would be more on the serviceable end of things than the fucking amazing end of things. And I was thinking, you know, not a lot of amazing stuff this year, but a few things have sort of then happened. I should also say, in the world of anti-compliments, I don't have a lot of perfumes that I always sort of habitually wear at this point or for this occasion or anything like that. But for some reason, it's become an established pattern that on Christmas Eve, I wear Widian 71. And I wear that, and the kids and her Madge go to some sort of churchy type thing. I don't do the whole church thing. And so I then meet them in the pub afterwards, and we always go to the same pub. We see some friends, you know, and that's like the Christmas Eve ritual almost. And so I've been wearing this Widian 71 every Christmas Eve for God knows how many years. And this year, my wife said, I don't like that perfume you're wearing. It's disgusting. Which was like, really? I mean, this is the same one I've worn every Christmas Eve for like 5-6 years or something. But now you hate it. So that was not a great sign.
Force papers in the mail.
Absolutely. Yep. Grab your bags, love. Off you go. So I was feeling a little bit jaded, and but so far this year, 2025 has actually worked out rather well. And one thing in particular showed up completely without any fucking warning whatsoever yesterday afternoon. It's so much just showed up that I haven't even had a chance to send you guys samples of it. But it is Amouage Purpose 50, which is one of the new X-rays. Well, I guess the new X-rays, like literally hot off the fucking press. And they very kindly sent me a bottle, and it's fucking great. But I was talking to Ben before this, and he sort of said, well, isn't Purpose a fairly new one anyway? And I think it is. And my recollection of Purpose is that it smelt like the list of notes. So it's, I'll just read them because I'm a bit useless. But pimento, frankincense, pink pepper, bergamot, papyrus, vetiver, sandalwood, rose, akigala wood, because it's a beach, Vanilla Suede Mystical. It's called Mystical, which I rather like. Not the rapper. And Saffron. And there was a rapper called Mystical, wasn't there? Yeah, good. I didn't just make that up. I was like...
No, it's just like, what have you got against him, you know?
Yeah, nothing. It's just he's not in my perfume. That's all. So the original one, it smelt like those, but this Purpose 50 has this really weird, and it sounds mental, but it's got like a tropical fruit sort of smell to it. But it doesn't smell like a bowl of tropical fruits or anything like that. It smells like it could be some weird exotic fruit. And like how papaya, well, I don't know whether you know, but for me, papaya sometimes has an almost like vomity kind of smell to it. Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Do you know how you get rid of that?
No.
Squeeze a lime on it.
Is that right?
Apparently.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's maybe does work, yeah. Well, so this doesn't smell of cig, but I'm sort of using that as an example of like a tropical fruit that's just a bit weird. This smells a bit like a tropical fruit that's a bit weird. It doesn't smell of papaya as such, but it's just, I don't know why, it's just got that sort of vibe. And I can't reconcile like the pimento and frankincense and pepper and all of that to what I'm smelling. I can't. But yeah, I think it's absolutely superb. Really, really nice. It's a baffling perfume. So what I'm going to do is send you guys some samples, and we can talk about it more next time.
So Biche did the original Purpose, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because did Purpose come out at the same time as I remember Material, right? So I remember Material was good. I think that was by Cecile Zorokian, maybe.
Entirely possibly.
Anyway, I don't remember Purpose, so it'll be interesting to see.
Purpose was 2023.
Oh, okay. So it's
green bottle.
Okay. I've just kind of a bit
with
Amouage. Not that they're not still producing good output, because I think they are, and I think we all agreed on that with the that trio that they released recently. But I think they have done some good ones. Like I say, Material I thought was pretty fantastic when that came out, and even though all those ones in that group, there was a kind of a debut perfumer, lady perfumer, can't remember, she did Meander maybe, American,
right?
Can't remember her name now, sorry love. I can't remember your name.
Well, Purpose came out as part of the Odyssey Collection Chapter 3 Escape, which sounds like quite a long...
I tell you, honestly, this Salmon guy, he's like bloody Rush with his titles, isn't he? Yeah. Return of the fucking King or some shit. Part 3.
Yeah.
Necromancer.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Some Dungeons and Dragons shit.
Yeah, it came out. It came out with so the other ones in that particular category were Search, which was by a chap called Alexis Grugian. Grujon. I don't know. I'm probably butchering the poor sod's name. Then there was Lineage and Guidance.
Oh, Guidance. I remember Guidance, I think.
Lineage was by Karine Vinchon Spena. God damn it. Okay. I wish these people had easier names for me to pronounce. And Guidance was by Quincy Beach. Guidance was also by Quincy Beach.
Right, okay.
I don't think Quincy Beach talks like that. He's probably French. Anyway, so I think it's very nice. Your mileage may vary, but I think it's... Yeah, it's a good one, and I've been quite happy so far with my 2025 perfumes. I got sent some samples by a brand called Thomas de Monaco. I don't know if you've come across these at all.
Nope.
But they've got one which got sort of hyped by a lot of influencers, like about a year ago, called Raw Gold. And it's really, really nice. Also slightly beige-esque. I don't think it is beige, but it's got that sort of slight metallic-y twang to it that you get in like Bois Imperial and stuff, but just much more palatable. And it's combined with a sort of woody, warm saffron. I don't know why saffron is, linked with gold. I don't know, whenever you sort of...
Well, because it's that thing of it's worth more than its weight in gold or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, the gold... Presumably, gold doesn't actually have a smell, does it? I mean,
it's saffron when you put it into like rice or you put it into some kind of liquid. It's red, but it makes everything go yellow, doesn't it? It's like quite a yellow,
right?
So it's kind of gold, I suppose. I can see I can understand the kind of opulence of it. I can sort of understand the connection.
Yeah, okay. I'll allow it. I will. I'll allow it. Why not? I mean, but what else? Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton just do really good perfumes. It's quite annoying. It's quite annoying to discover that you would just have thought that they would be smashing out designer after designer, and they sort of are, but they're all like just immaculately clean and lovely.
Yeah, they're very. I can't say anything's really stuck out from them, but I think I need to really dig into some of those ones that people really go on about, because they kind of have they'd sort of maybe take time to fully appreciate, I think.
Yeah, I think there is something of that. They do this weird thing where they seem superficially like dead simple, but yet they kind of burrow into your sort of subconscious somehow. And I don't know exactly.
You just saying that, sorry, reminds me of something that came up over Christmas.
Oh,
sorry, am I out of sync again or something?
No.
Okay.
I thought you were going to accuse me of saying it just because the price tag is there, and then me retrospectively justifying it by sort of imagining that they are somehow more complex than they really are.
Oh,
and
wow.
I have considered
You've got a guilty
that possibility.
Conscience there, mate. I wasn't thinking anything like that.
I sort of have. Yeah, but I worry that I've kind of somehow post-rationalised this and gone, yes, well, actually, because they're £400, they're in fact incredibly complicated, even though they appear trite and simple.
No, I think sometimes that is a deliberate thing where the more simple something is, you're either striving to find more complexity, and inevitably you maybe will. And if it's a less crowded sort of landscape of quite a simple perfume, you can almost like conjure up things yourself, which I think is an interesting aspect of perfumery. But it just reminded me of a little Christmas kind of anecdote. So we go to the school, and again, I don't, not that anybody listens to this, but there's a kind of, sort of...
someone does.
A group of, like, friends of, like, kids are friends, and you're kind of friends with the parents and stuff. And one of these guys, they're quite sort of geeky. I think he kind of works in, like, finance or something, and he's a right fucking state, you know what I mean? He always shows up, like, and he's one of these people who's got no filter whatsoever. He just says, like, whatever he's thinking. He's fucking inadvertently hilarious, this guy, but he's very, like, I think aware of his own kind of sort of little geekiness kind of thing. Anyway, he says he just texts me out of the blue, right, on, like, because we're in like a WhatsApp group. I don't like speak to him or anything. He's like, I believe you're a perfume expert. I need to get a perfume for my missus for Christmas. What should I get? And I was like, well, do you really? I was like, I'm gonna send you a scroller here because I can't. Do you know what I mean? Like I know her, and I'm like, what does she normally wear? Flower bomb, I think. He went and like found it, and I was like, okay, so maybe we could, go around this kind of angle. And I basically wrote him like a fucking document. Yeah, about like, oh, I think she'd like this and blah blah blah. And then after a while, because he was going, are you going to like help me out with this? Because I need to go and get it. And I was like, yeah, I'm finishing off your document now, and I'll send it to you.
Then he goes, finishing off your report. Yeah, he goes,
well, do you know what? Don't go mad, will you? Because I want something quite. Imagine like the Ford Mondeo of perfumes. That's what I want to get for. And I was like, fucking hell, Fabio. Fucking hell, Casanova. Push the boat out, why don't you?
Fabio, what a reference. Fabio. So, fucking hell.
All sorts going, dude, that's just typical of you. The Ford Mondeo of perfumes. So
1997 called. They want their voters back.
I think I recommended
Mondeo, man.
I think I recommended maybe like Coco, that kind of pink one. What is that?
Mademoiselle,
and a couple of others
which is actually very
nice, and an Hermes that's quite good. I mean, Flower Bomb's quite nice, so I was a bit dodgy on any of the flankers, so I didn't recommend any of those, but I gave him some nice Chanel, Hermes, and maybe a Dior or something. And then I said, if you want to go to niche, no, I don't want to go to niche, that's fine. So I don't even know what he got in the end, but just the fact that he said, I was like, fucking hell, dude. Like, and he meant it. He wasn't like being funny or anything. He's like, he fully means that. Like,
well, it is amazing how, like, when you provide a recommendation for someone that's successful, they're like super appreciative of it. A colleague at work asked me what to get, saying that he really liked Spice Bomb but wanted something a bit more like upmarket, and I told him to get Initio Rehab, and he was like, fucking hell, it's like £200. But then he went and bought it and was like, oh my god, it's amazing. So he was quite pleased with that.
It's getting quite different when people say, oh, can you help me recommend a perfume? And then you say, you sort of, yeah, okay, what sort of things do you like? And you start recommending them, and they're like, oh, that's 200 quid. That's 300 quid. And you think, well, what's the fucking point then? Just go fucking Boots. Like, if that's what you want, go to fucking Boots and ask the person behind the counter.
You're still going to pay 100 quid from Boots. Do you know what I mean? So that's the thing these days. So
right. Well, so I could go on about a bunch of other perfumes that I've acquired already this year, but frankly, it's pointless because none of them are probably going to still be here in 6 months. So, but one thing I did want to mention was that I ran into Chris Fragmental yesterday, just as you do, and he had with him the new Dior Homme Parfum.
This is a bizarre meeting. You ran into Fragmental and he happened to have Dior Homme Parfum in his pocket. That doesn't surprise me, weirdly. Yeah. It's just like, oh, hello, Dan.
Yes.
I just smelt this.
Yeah. Sort of. So, we have... he was meeting a colleague of mine, and he'd intended to make some video footage, and I happened to be there at the same time, and so we ended up talking about it. And anyway, he had 2 Dior perfumes with him, and I'll get rid of the easier one first, which is the new Dior Bois Talisman, which is part of the whatever, I don't know, what do they call the posh range, but it's part of the posh range. Privé, exactly. So Bois Talisman, he only had a little sort of 2 ml sample of it, so I just did one little spray of it, and it is very nice, but incredibly unoriginal, and it basically smells like Arabian Oud Calamat, or is it Beside the Fireplace? The replica one. Those kind of sort of spicy, tobacco-y, woody amber, great, really nice. completely unoriginal, very well executed. I suspect you'll smell it and you'll go, this is really nice, this is really good. It's just a good version of something else I've smelled before. But it just so... Actually, I'm conflicted about it because I really liked it, but it speaks volumes about the lack of fucking creative originality going on at the moment at Dior. So anyway, that one, I'm sure you will get to try it when it hits the stores. It may, I don't know if it has, but I don't think I would bother buying it. But he also had he had a bottle of the Dior Perfume, which I can only describe as a bit shit, unfortunately. It basically opens with a sort of like recognisable leathery iris kind of thing that you get in the original one, but then sort of veers off into this sort of like bland, generic, sugary, it's like a sort of sugary blue sort of perfume that doesn't really smell of anything at all like the Dior range, and has no business being in the Dior range in my view. Disappointing.
Do you know what disappointed
I believe
me?
so.
Because I obviously haven't smelled that, so I can't comment. But you mentioned Kurjan then, right? And this Christmas, like sometime this Christmas, I managed to get Oud Satin Mood. God, that is shit.
Oh yeah,
that is really shit. And I couldn't believe how shit it was. Because it's one of them ones that is always hyped in the groups. It's always talked about, isn't it? And I just never smelt it. And so I thought, I should probably correct that. And I had the opportunity to smell it at a reasonable price. And I just thought, wow. I don't know if the hype is because maybe 10 years ago it might have been interesting or something. But fuck me, it was...
It's not interesting. It's very one-dimensional. It's basically a rose on a vanilla-y sort of oud base. Yeah. It's like it's very thick and treacly. And the only thing I will say about it is I do like the smell of it on other people. But if you wear it yourself, it's so oppressively fucking linear and one-dimensional. Yeah. It's just like
I never got those silk mood, satin mood, any of those mood ones, except for the original oud, which I think is a great perfume. Do you know the original oud?
I don't think I even like that one. Yeah.
Speaking of saffron, it is quite saffron heavy, very synthetic oud, but it's something. There's something magical about it. Maybe a tiny bit of rose, not a lot of rose in it, but yeah, I love that one.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of with you, Ben, certainly on the oud satin mood, but I don't know, just it does still smell nice on other people. If I walk past someone wearing it in the street, I go, oh, that smells nice. But the minute I put it on, just like, oh,
it just dull as dishwater and quite heavy, and it just sort of lingers and it doesn't go anywhere. And I was expecting so much more. I mean, I'm sure I've smelt that sort of profile of perfume so many times, and it was just
I'm sure you have. Yeah, well, I don't think you're going to be particularly bowled over by the new Dior Parfum. Although somebody wrote an analysis. I don't. And that's a rather grandiose expression, but somebody wrote something about it that I saw, which I can't remember who, and I'm not trying to pass it off as my own thoughts, but I think it made sense actually. And they said that this is an okay perfume. And actually, if you're going to have a Dior Homme line in the designer range, this is what it should smell like. But the original Dior Homme and Dior Homme Parfum should have been part of the posh range because they are so sort of groundbreaking and radically different and amazing that they deserve to be elevated up to that sort of. And I know James told me what it's called, but I still can't remember, the Posh collection. Which I can sort of get that, right? And if you take this new one on just as a standalone perfume, you'll smell it and go, oh, that's quite nice. Yeah, I mean, it's not offensive. It's quite nice. It's not groundbreaking. It's a decent enough perfume. You wouldn't be offended to smell that on people, and you probably wouldn't be too offended to wear it. But as a flanker to Dior Homme, no. Just no. Not even close. It doesn't get there.
I don't think it helps the expectation behind it as well, because the original Dior Homme, everyone loves it so much, don't they? It's like it's one of the kind of sort of classics, I guess, like modern classics or something. I don't know, like it's got a place, doesn't it? Like high up in the echelons of kind of modern perfumery or whatever. Everybody loves it.
Yeah,
so
and I think that's understandable. It's the first sort of it's the first like overtly feminine smelling perfume marketed as masculine that I can. Well, that's probably not fair. I think Fahrenheit in some ways is quite feminine, but Dior Homme, that sort of lipsticky iris, that's. I think most people would have smelt that and gone, "Oh, that's a woman's perfume or something." But it's not. It's sort of sparkling and amazingly sort of masculine in its own way. But I think it deserves its place in sort of lore, as it were, in perfume lore. But I just think that the flanker they've made doesn't really deserve to be mentioned in the same bracket as it. It's not terrible perfume itself. It's just,
how often is that the case though?
It doesn't work.
Flankers are, I mean, we could probably do a whole episode on like disappointing flankers, right? It's a rare thing, I think, when a flanker is released and everyone turns around and says, "Cool, this is great." Like most times a flanker comes out and people go, "Whew, it's okay." Like there's a relief that it's okay or something. Do you know what I mean?
What did people expect with this? Because when they rebooted Dior Homme, called it exactly the same thing, and brought out a really disappointing Eau de Toilette or whatever it was, it was a complete departure. There wasn't even a glimpse of the original to it. So when this came out, looking the same in the same bottle, I was like, why is anybody surprised that it's not a remake of the other one? Because that wouldn't have been consistent with what they were doing, which is systematically destroying Dior and completely tarnishing their legacy. But that's up to them.
I don't think surprise was how I processed it. I think in fact, I definitely wasn't surprised, because over the last few weeks, I've seen almost nothing but people falling over themselves to try this perfume and then to go on about it either favourably or unfavourably. I've actually had no interest whatsoever in even trying it. I was like, of course I'll try it, but I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm not rushing out, because my expectations are it will not be very good. And my expectations were duly met. And I am, neither... overwhelmed nor underwhelmed. Right, I just feel like
if a line hasn't been completely destroyed by reformulation and is a complete shadow of itself, then I don't care about it going by the wayside or them getting rid of it or whatever. But they haven't done that. They're still selling the original Dior Homme, aren't they? Have they phased that fully out now?
Do not know the answer to that.
Anyway, but aside from that, they've basically rebooted a perfume while the other one was still around, and the other one was extremely iconic, a great seller for them. And they've basically, what did they expect from hardcore fans who, unfortunately, will be kind of tricked into buying the wrong thing? Or not hardcore fans, but like normal people who maybe were like, "Oh, I liked this previously," bought it and got something completely different. So why muddy the waters? Well, I know why, because it's easier for them in it to kind of have the same thing. But sorry, go on.
No.
They're not selling to hardcore
this
fans.
Is the thing, right? This is the thing, right? And that's exactly so when I went at Christmas to buy that Les Oderants, right, I had to go to like Muggle shops to get it because it was on sale and it was a gift pack, right? And I was interested to like listen to like what the store staff were talking to other people, right? And there was a family of people in there, and they were buying something for their son, I think. And they were like talking about Sauvage, obviously, right? And she said, "Oh, what's the difference between like all the different versions, right? Like the Elixir and so on." And the sales clerk,
it's just stronger.
The sales clerk said, "The Eau de Toilette will last you 6 hours, and the Parfum will last you 8 hours, and the Elixir will last you 10." And that was her explanation, right? And you think,
wow.
Right? And so, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this is what they're going to do with this Dior Homme, right? People are going to go in and be like, "Oh, so and so likes Dior Homme. What's this new one?" And they're going to be like, "Oh, it lasts 10 hours," and they'll be like, "Brilliant, I'll buy it." And it might, it'd be a totally different perfume. But I was just sitting there, and I was just, wow. Like, I'll have, yeah. What do you say when you hear something like that? Like,
well, that's what we've descended into, isn't it? That's what it's about,
Well, I think this will provide an interesting segue into our part 2, actually. Consumers. Fucking consumers. Do they need saving from themselves? Anyway, look, Dior Homme, new parfum, not worth getting bent out of shape about one way or t'other. Just as a standalone perfume, it smells okay. It's an okay smell. I'm sure it will sell very, very well. But they're not interested in hardcore fans, because hardcore fans make up a vanishingly small percentage of their sales. They're trying to sell on the broadest possible fucking terms to as many people as possible. Which is fine. That's kind of their business. But the hardcore fans definitely, I think, will feel disappointed. So anyway, why don't we take a minute to grab something to drink? Because I notice with some jealousy that James has a glass of wine.
Is
it wine? Yeah. I feel a bit jealous about that. So I might have to go and set the equilibrium. Get the world back in balance, or whatever the fuck the expression is. And we will return in part 2 of Les Oderants in just a few minutes. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Les Oderants. So this week we are going to have a bit of a wide-ranging discussion, I hope. This was sort of sparked off by a post that Brooke Belden, owner of Sanselier, made on her Instagram account a couple of weeks ago. Now, we are all huge fans of Brooks, and the sort of stuff that we're going to sort of hopefully debate is more a continuation of some of the themes. I'm not directly responding to exactly what Brooke wrote word for word, because I think, this is... Brooke's not here. We're not going to get into an argument about all that kind of stuff. But there were a few points that I took from that post, which I thought were very interesting and worth exploring a little bit more. So think of this as a discussion inspired by Brooke's post. But we're not trying to sort of relitigate discussions with Brooke or sort of assassinate anything she's said or done. So, if you want to go and read that post for a bit of context, by all means go and read it. It's very interesting, very well written, as always, by Brooke. But there were a couple of things which I thought were particularly interesting. And I think the three things which I want to talk about are this. One, are there too many new perfume releases? Two, is influencer marketing distorting the market? And three, do consumers need rescuing from themselves? And Brooke did not say any of those things word for word. So, this is not sort of me attacking Brooke. Please do not take it that way. This is merely me sort of trying to summarize some of the thinking, play it back in my own set of words, and then have a discussion about those things and see how we feel. So, with that context in mind, the first question I want to ask is, do we think there are too many perfume releases each year? Ben, do you have a view on this?
I've sort of for a long time felt that there too many is there is a ridiculous amount of perfume releases. So many so that, we talk about perfume releases here and we're not even scratching the surface, like there are thousands and thousands and thousands. And sometimes I do wonder how sustainable that market is. But then 10 years later, here we are and it's still going on. So clearly there's profit in it somewhere because it wouldn't exist otherwise. But it is to the point where there are so many perfumes being released that I'm normally a bit of a collector, right? Like I'm one of those people where if I'm interested in something, I kind of want all of the things, right? But with perfume, that's just not even feasible to begin to suggest that you might smell every single one. Or I'm
gonna give it a good fucking shot.
Well,
gonna fucking try, mate.
But like it's you might smell like 1,000 in a year, and then you'll find out that that's probably less than 10% of what was actually released.
I'm sure
madness. But I wouldn't use the words too many because see, here's the thing. Like, I don't see it as a problem. Like the fact that there is a lot of perfume being released is great. I think, I don't have to smell them all, and there's a lot that I'm not interested in. In fact, the vast majority I'm not interested in. But I wouldn't really have it any other way. I think it's probably my summary on that, because choice
I think that's a fair opening gambit.
Yeah, I think there's surely that's a good thing, to have all that in front of you. Like it's a good thing. You don't have to be interested in it all. Just let some of it go. I don't know.
I mean, does anyone ever complain too much music has been released?
No, exactly, and it's the same thing. There is so much music weekly that I'm just. I always keep up for the new releases every Friday. I check out, I go to the record shop, I listen to all the new releases, and the vast majority are just not my thing. And you just let them go. Don't worry about it. But focus on the stuff that is your thing. And, you might pick up 1 or 2 records a month or, a couple of records a week sometimes. But again, it's not scratching the surface of what's actually out there,
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Although, being the octopus I am, I will argue against my own arguments in at least 7 other directions. And at the moment, you're mostly listening to music produced by humans. But if what you were in fact listening to was kind of 70 new releases of AI generated fucking soulless drivel by put together by fucking Walmart. Would you still even want to listen to all the new releases? Would you feel you had to listen to them?
I would argue that a lot of it is soulless and sounds like it's been made by a computer anyway.
Arguably
that's
true.
A different argument, I guess. But but that's the thing. I guess by taking that approach that I've just said, there are a lot of perfumes that I just don't even bother to smell that may possibly be good, but I've written them off in my head already. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just think, well, I'm not going to probably be interested in that. I'm not even going to go out my way to try it. And that may be more for me. Maybe I'm missing out on a lot of good stuff, but I'm willing to believe that I'm not. And that a lot of stuff that comes out is just toilet, and that's just the way it is. And it's okay to just let that toilet go. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. James, do you think there are too many perfume releases?
I think I do, yeah. I think there are too many. It doesn't bother me, doesn't upset me. I think there's a reason for that. Does it affect quality and things like that? I'd say there's a lot more repetition when you've got more perfumes, and certainly still finding the things that interest you. I think it's still possible, and you're not affected by there being so many. So I don't see it as a problem, but I think there are too many just in terms of volume and from a really creative standpoint, because I get that things are going to be mildly derivative of each other because there's only so many materials and so many kind of new ways of putting them together and stuff. So I accept a degree of it. But when you're looking at thousands of perfumes, and some of these brands almost become like cynical. They're almost like it's almost like a new fucking shitcoin, or like an NFT or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're very sort of transient. Like they go, oh, okay, can we make some money out of this by just popping up this brand, even if it's quite a niche brand? Do they really expect to have longevity, or is it just a case of throw loads at the wall and see which ones stick? And even that's a kind of a cynical view to have of it. So
I think
yes,
that's a really good analogy, though. Sorry to just jump in, but I think that's a really good analogy, actually. Like, even and I don't want to move on to the other point just yet, but just to stick it out there. But even the saturation of it with influencers, that like one perfume will just saturate the influencer market. It's just it's almost a pump and dump. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a really good analogy.
And I think it is actually it's very difficult to answer these questions in isolation. Although I guess when I think of so the analyst in me always says, well, what's too much? If something is too much, then there must exist a point at which something is not too much, and therefore there must exist a point at which it's an acceptable number. So what is the acceptable number? I mean, by being prepared to assert that there's too many, then you're logically arguing that there is a number that is okay somewhere. There exists this number. Do you have any sense of what that number is? Should there be like half of what there is now? And I struggle with that because I don't, I agree. There are a lot of fucking new releases and there's a lot of shit and there's a lot of stuff to ignore because you can't fucking try them all, and you'd be mad to want to try them all. But I don't think that there is some sort of agreeable number of releases that, where everything would suddenly be okay. I think you have to take a sort of fairly... And this is the I guess the sort of uber logical sort of part of my brain. I think you just have to take a view that says, well, whatever number you make is okay. Just let the fucking quality rise to the top somehow. Let the creativity and quality find its way to the surface, and that's okay. The more we democratize it, the broader we make it, the better, and eventually quality will shine through. And that is exactly how K-pop came to be, such a thing. But
when you put it like that immediately, like the anti-establishment in me is like, well, who are you to decide, or who are we to decide that this is the cut-off point? Like surely there is no too much. There is just perfume, and like you say, the good stuff, we'll find it. Like the rest of it, just let it go. Don't worry about it. It's okay, but the fact that it's out there is a good thing. Like the fact that like if I want to start a perfume brand tomorrow and pump it out and give influencers a couple of grand each to all talk about it on the same day or whatever, and like maybe I could make some, like I could do that feasibly, and I don't want to, but I could, and that's a good thing, if it's
I
shit,
know what you mean.
No one will buy it, and that's fine. Like,
you're thinking of it in terms of like a punk sort of revolution where it's like everybody's empowered, there's no rules, everyone can just stick stuff out there, but there's also a kind of counter to that it's actually more of a kind of commercial space than it's ever been, and it's more important that stuff and the sheer volume of shit that's out there and the ease of access to getting materials and just starting your own brand. It's so much easier now than it was, and we're not seeing this kind of renaissance. We're not seeing this kind of amazing sort of breakthrough of stuff, and maybe that's just because I don't really know why that is.
But that's with any art form. I think that's always the case. Like we talk about music, there are a million indie bands out there. You know, like you go to any city in England or across the world, and you're going to find like the underground, like music scene. And at that underground music scene, the vast majority of it will be shit.
But most of it will be semi-competently put together, tolerable melodies made by people who with a sincere desire to create something,
Or not, though. Like, go to the Green Door store in Brighton and go to, like, Split in the Atom, and you're going to spend 8 hours listening to, like, someone on a synthesizer smashing it with his face with a light bulb that flashes next to him and a lady in a blanket dancing, doing performative art or whatever. Like, and it would be dreadful.
It sounds great.
There, and that's what... but that's what's great, right? And to bring that to Perfume, that's... Prin Parfum Sombre. Do you know what I mean? Like it's you'd be hard pressed to say that's a nice, like, wearable, serviceable perfume, but it's fantastic that it's there.
I can think of another sort of music analogy that I went to see a band. I won't say who they are, and they are primarily living off the fact. I mean, incredible band, incredible live band, incredible musicians. They're a trio. Every single one of them are amazing, right? And I became aware of them because of Instagram, right? So they have viral videos that are like of them playing because they're just like sick musicians, right? But you go and see them and they have not one memorable song. You could come out of there and go, hum one of their fucking songs, even though they're all kind of like funky, like, there was not one hook, not one anything. And I think these are three guys who are all insanely good, like virtuoso musicians, but they can't make a fucking hit song. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got that songwriting like quality, and it's almost stripping it back, right? So where that comes into like Perfume or whatever is that they wouldn't have really a viable, well, maybe they would, but I think social media has really done them a favor in that they can have a life as this kind of live, sort of almost like a jam band. They're not. They it's all rehearsed songs and stuff, but they don't have any kind of. They won't have commercial success because they ain't got a single song that's like memorable or any good, which is a shame, really. But they still have a career and they still have a following and they still have all this because they're such an amazing live act. And that has been spread around the world. The reason they're touring around the world is because they put some videos online and people are like, wow, they've got a huge online following, and that has really propelled them into having this thing, So I don't know where Perfume comes in there, but it does somewhere.
So, okay, so my view is simply this: no, there's not too many releases. I think it's undemocratic to sort of suggest that there should be fewer releases. Who are we to limit things? And to use the music analogy, which I expect we will keep coming back to, but I have a vague recollection of being in my sort of teenage years when there was that transition from guitar based indie music to kind of electronic stuff. So electronic music became a thing, and suddenly we had a nation of bedroom producers and such. And I suspect there were people at the time who were saying, "Well, this is ridiculous. You can't just have every fucking arsehole putting together their own music. I mean, it'll be chaos, But it's typically the vested interests that want to sort of stop that, I guess." To be very, I don't think, by the way, that's where Brooke was coming from. I think Brooke's concern was more with the, those organisations with vast kind of marketing budgets who are willing to sort of just vomit out kind of 60 releases, at the drop of a hat, and sort of give out 500 bottles to kind of influencers and reviewers in order to buy PR and stuff. And are there too many of them? And I sort of feel like probably yeah, there's more than I'd like, but I don't see that anything can be done. It feels a little bit sort of King Canute-ish to try and sort of stop the tide. You know, you're just kind of stamping your foot, going, "Well, there's more of these than I'd like." Great, sure, yeah, me too. But you know, there's other things to worry about.
I have some sympathy with that argument, I think, but I think the problem with going against it is that it's the same avenues they're using that everyone else is using, if you know what I mean. So by stopping that, you know, it's like you can either democratize perfume and make it accessible and make it easily available for everyone to get involved in, which I think is largely a good thing, or you can stop it and you also then stop these kind of overnight kind of shysters that are putting out like 1 million perfumes and then sort of like pulling the rug or just being like useless. You know, I think it goes hand in hand. You make it accessible and you get those kind of people in the space who are only really interested in the commercial element of it and profiting as hard and fast as they can and then going. And I think you can't have one without the other, though. That's the unfortunate part of it.
Do you think that there are brands, right, that deliberately have a ridiculously inflated price and they go for that like super high end, I'm going to go straight into Harrods, or we're going to hopefully get picked up by one of these Fortnums or whatever?
Floriku.
Let's take examples like that. I'm talking, you know, generally whatever. And then when they don't have sustainability, or they don't have what do you call it, like longevity or whatever. I'm not talking about the actual perfumes, but like as a brand, they're a bit weak, it's a bit transient, but they've made enough money from the early adopters who went, oh, what's this new shit in Harrods, I'll just buy it, whether they're perfume people or not, or just people with more money than sense, who've paid, let's say £500 a bottle, whatever, right? And then they end up having to dump all the rest of their stock to TK Maxx and just to, you know, break even on the fucking shit or whatever, or make a slight loss. Then have they already made their money and got out? Like you're saying about like pump and dump type like scenarios. I probably think that they are, because they probably come from other savvy people who were like, well, you know, it's not the end of the world if we don't do this, because like the cost of making these is fuck all, and we can just sell them off at TK Maxx, and someone will be thinking, oh, I'm getting a £500 perfume here for like 30 quid or whatever. Cynical way of looking at it, but whatever. I think personally that obviously anybody's got the right to say that, and I think if you can't gatekeep in your own passion, your own hobby, when can you fucking do it? Do you know what I mean? So I kind of think, like, I kind of get where, again, we're coming back to Brooke, but I get where anybody who makes that point is kind of coming from, that like a lot of people kind of prize other things over what I do, and I kind of obviously think that my taste is better than yours.
Naturally.
And well, yeah, exactly. So I kind of I don't apologize. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with, like Rich Mitch about, right? But I still respect what he says, because he's like so passionate about it. I mean, to a ridiculous degree, like more than I am. So yeah, we can have these differences and still like rub along, because at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to change.
We absolutely are going to see more. But you know, for me, what's interesting about this concept of there being too much stuff is, if there's too much stuff, right, then the argument presumably must be that, well, quality is poor, you know, the quality of the product or creativity or whatever it is, there's too much stuff, and overall the amount of differentiation in the market is very poor, and stuff is basically, it's like 99% shit. So what's great about that is that it sets up the niches by the very existence. You have to have the bad in order to have the good. If what did the top 10 look like in 1843? Ooh, there's a new song out. Everyone, there's a new song. It's like, So, you'd have like 10 songs or something released in a year by like whoever the songwriter was. But now, there's billions and billions of, you can't fucking open your phone without being bombarded by 1,000 new releases, every week. And the sort of vanilla-ishness and the blandness and the sort of insipidness of so much of that is what creates the sort of niches into which the enthusiasts fall. Like, Ben and his weird drone fucking music or whatever that stuff is around. That niche only exists because bland stuff exists. Yeah, you have to have the sort of the mass in order to create the niche. They can't exist independently. So I don't worry that there's too much shit. But what I do think is very interesting is this idea of marketing budgets simply being, they're distorting the world, and I'm paraphrasing, but this idea of these false prophet influencers who really don't know much. And we've talked about the cynicism of kind of influencers who don't really actually have any passion for perfume. They are simply looking for a niche to occupy in order to develop their Insta clout or whatever. This sort of this reliance on these false prophets who marketing budgets are given to, and they're paid and they're escorted around these different factories. Ooh, come see our enormous kind of mega factory one in Saudi, where we can sort of show you how we make this vanilla perfume. That I think is having a distorting effect, because people are to some degree being misled by the people that they see on YouTube, and there's no point naming any individuals, but you don't have to look very far on any social media platform to find a perfume influencer that knows the absolute fucking square root of fuck all about actual perfume. They know nothing about the history, the creativity, about the fucking notes. They know nothing. They're just sort of going, buy this Lattafa, it's dead fucking good. Because I went to a factory and they flew me out there on a private jet and stuff. It's there is a problem there, I think.
Can I just interject with a little thing that came from Rich the other day? So we were having a similar discussion to this around this kind of topic, and I can't remember, but it was probably one of the most like hilarious but depressing overviews of the industry at the moment, and it ended his voice note in saying it's a fucking wasteland, and then he reiterated it's a fucking wasteland, right? And I was like, that's brilliant. I want to project it with some fucking visuals and like drum and bass beats or something. I was like, that's fucking amazing. Just he's like, it's done, it's fucking done. It's a wasteland. I love that. Like we've got more releases than ever. We got 6,000 a fucking year or whatever. It's a fucking
and he's
waste.
Partly right. Like, he is partly right. And there are all these fucking terrible kind of creatures who inhabit the kind of social media cloutosphere or whatever you call it, and you can see them fucking at making their little social videos at Exxons or whatever the fucking one in America is. And I'm only bitter because I can't go to Exxons this year. But there are these dreadful fucking people who have no respect for the creativity or the art form. Who are just pushing whatever they're told to push. And I fucking know for a fact, people are now charging £500 per Instagram post, right? £250 for an Instagram story. These are like the going rates now. Plus, fees, commissioning fees. And I should say, just for absolute clarity, I have never accepted payment for a post on Instagram at all. But I know people do it. And I quite often get asked by companies what my rates are. Yeah, and I, I don't know. I think I'm turning companies off by saying I don't charge. Then there's something wrong with you. There's clearly a lot of it going on, and people will say any old shit. And people will say any old shit is great because they think they'll get more free product or they'll get paid to promote the next one or whatever. But who cares? I mean, this is the thing that bothers me. Who really gives a shit, right? Because this is sort of the way advertising works and has always worked. And what are you going to do? Like hide under the duvet and pretend, the world is better than it is? It's not. This is just fucking how it is.
So yeah, it is the way advertising's always worked. And I don't think that's a problem. And you see all these influencers that, we all know when they're going to dump what they've been told to dump, their 5 bullet points or whatever they've been sent in their PDF, and they have to do it on this specific day because that's the campaign, the PR campaign is to run that week or whatever. And we can all see that. And that's the thing. It's very easy to ignore, right? So for us, it's easy to ignore. But for the people who are not so super into it, they're the ones that they're aiming for, right? And that's the problem. And where it becomes an even bigger problem is when you get the companies cutting people off. Like, how long have we made this podcast for? Like 2-3 years, right? And in that time, how many companies have fucked us off because we've said what they didn't like? Like almost every single one that I can think of, apart from like maybe 2. And there's no point, we don't need to give names, but there are some who have even given us thinly veiled like legal threats because, and not because we said bad things, because we didn't say what they wanted us to say. And that is what's fucking shit up. Because you can moan about the influencers, and I could moan about influencers all day long. But a lot of the time, they're bent over a barrel because if they want to be this influencer, right, they have to, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day. And it goes back to those companies having all of the power. And like the influencers, these days we talk about democratization and stuff, but it's not, because no one can genuinely say what they feel, because if they do, they'll end up like us, where, we say, oh, do you want to come on for an interview? And they say, yeah, we'd love to come on for an interview. And then they hear our episode about their perfumes where we question whether or not potentially the person was the perfumer or not, the audacity, and then they don't want anything to do with us ever again. And
or whether they were a globetrotter or a sport.
Well, we won't get into names, will we? But there are several companies that have told us to do one because we didn't. And I know sometimes we can be abrasive, but sometimes but sometimes we said things that were broadly in agreement, and we said nice things about their perfumes, but because we didn't say the exact bullet points, we're blacklisted. And so I'm not just, and I know this is madness coming from me, but I have some sympathy with influencers that, if you want to be an influencer,
but who wants to?
You've got to bend over. That's obviously
who wants to be a
cunt. That's who wants to be.
Absolutely.
Do you know?
Who wants to be one anyway?
It's people now consider it as a fucking career option, and that's nauseating. I mean,
and that's the problem, is because if they want that career, they've got to bend over.
But to what extent does that really distort the market? I mean,
not for me and you, but I think it might for other people. If you're like Jimmy Dave, that how many people go on about copycat perfumes, and that's only because they're viral marketing. Do you know what I mean? It's not because they're quality product.
Yeah, There's a brand called Superbs or something, and I think they're a Turkish brand. Have you heard of these ones?
No.
Okay, so they a lot of the influencer reviewers, Superbs Budapest. Is that right? Yeah, Superbs Budapest, right? So these guys have appeared out of nowhere with a bunch of perfumes that are, I think, quite expensive, and it's abundantly clear that every influencer they work with is basically on the take, doing like referral codes and, getting income kickbacks for anything that they sell. And out of nowhere, Curly Fragrances doing her top 10 Supers Budapest beast modes and, top 10 Supers Budapest fucking panty droppers. They are throwing money around like it's confetti, but you have to wonder, how many people are really taken in by this shit? And I will argue the people taken in by this shit are arseholes. A fool and his money are easily parted. Figure it out for yourself. By all means, let these companies try and buy their way in. Everyone's always tried to buy their way into every fucking niche. But Supers Budapest, am I going to buy one of their perfumes? 100% fucking no, right? Is anybody I know likely to buy one? No, right? Who might? Johnny Arsehole on fucking Facebook who's not really into perfume but happens to see a video, goes, I'll try one of these. Oh, I did try one. It was shit. They sold me one. They sold me one perfume and they won't sell me anymore because they were shit. That's the sort of, these things are self-limiting, right? Because there's only enough idiots, right, who to buy any of this product, and if the product's no good, then they'll only buy one and they'll never come back. So no amount of marketing budget, and I guess this is really my point, no amount of marketing budget will really long term get you past having a shit product, right? You've got to have a decent product.
Rises to the top, like you said.
Exactly.
Start, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think you have to have a decent product. In the final analysis, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at marketing or whatever. If you don't have a decent product, people will not come back. And that's the fucking truth of it. So bring it on. Have as many companies as you like. Fucking throw budgets around like it's confetti. Who gives a shit? Ultimately, the truth will out. And that's the view I take on it.
I think that's valid.
I sense a but, James.
No, there's no but. I just think that there's it does allow for a different kind of influencer, shall we say, to just do a bit of a cash grab, stick a brand out there. There was a thing, an article that I read the other day about clone brands.
Oh yeah,
and it mentioned Christoph's his code of ethics and the fact that it should, formulas should be more protected by some kind of, copyright or, some form of protection, and how certain companies have tried to employ tactics to mask some of the GCMS analysis. They can put stuff in there to try and throw, because the thing is, what people don't realize is that it's not that easy, even for some clone brand. They still have to interpret a GCMS. They can't just go, oh, okay, let's stick this through a machine and then it'll tell us exactly what to put together. It won't. You need somebody who understands how to interpret that data, and they have to have a knowledge of perfumery in order to be able to recreate something close. But the point is that there's no way, well, there's very little chance that two perfumers will arrive at the same thing without some tinkery. You can look at the two formulas and go, they've definitely nicked that. There's no question. There's certain signatures within it where you'd be like, they ain't done that just by chance, or by the fucking Jean Carl's method, or just by. There's certain things that maybe, because all these perfumers work together, don't they? So they'd have us believe. Do they finish each other's work, or do they look at each other's formulas? Obviously, because and there's certain formulas that are out there that are classic techniques and things that they use. So I don't think that it's all just plagiarism or just a simple case of completely stealing things, but. I guess I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's the clone brand issue. I think that has changed a lot of the landscape of the the normal, you know, your niche and designer and whatever else is out there. Do you think that it has? Anne?
Well, I'm not really that arsed about clones, and I think, and you'll hate this, but I think there's a certain integrity, not.
But, no, because they state we are copying.
Correct. There's a certain transparency there, right? And so I got a perfume the other day, which is by a brand called By Argos, which, by the way, I'm sure in America that made sense as a great fucking name. In the UK, terrible fucking name, By Argos. But I got a perfume from By Argos. It's called Sharon's Veil. And it's very nice. It's very fancy packaging, and I think it costs about fucking 350 quid or something for 100 ml. It is a Dior Oud Ispahan clone. That's what it is, right? They wouldn't dream of putting that on the marketing material. They would probably fucking, send me a cease and desist letter if they even heard me saying this on this podcast. Thankfully, they won't be listening. But it's a fucking clone, right? There's no integrity there. That's what it is. And they've got form, by the way. You know, one of their other ones was a clone of a Memo one, which was itself a clone of something else that I remember you pointing out, James. So, you know, there's lots of companies just sort of going, oh, well, you know, we need our own Aventus. So do me Aventus, heavily inspired by Aventus with a little tweak of this. I personally think it's more transparent to just fucking say what you're doing, right? I mean, sure, people aren't going to like it, I have a small clone brand. People aren't going to like it. They're going to be sniffy about it. We won't agree on a lot of things, but I'm not fucking hiding what it is. You know, that's what it is. Whereas I think, I think slightly in defense of your clones, I think you should state really, that they're discontinued perfumes, which I think the majority of them are. Not all of them are, actually. Is that? Yeah. I think that's quite a cool thing for people who who potentially want that. I find that it's less offensive. Less offensive than things that are actually on the market at the moment. But I'm not trying to. So I don't really want to get into fucking dissecting my brand particularly, but because it's nice to be able to hide. But no, I'm sort of. I think it's just more truthful to say that you're copying things. I think there's I would bet you dollars to donuts that 90% of new releases from these companies are really just clones or subtle variations on clones anyway. I haven't tried a single perfume by Super's Budapest. It's possible, right? It is possible that they've created, a whole range of incredibly creative, artistic, and brand new perfumes. But their marketing tells me that's unlikely to be the case, right? Do you think it's even the fault of the actual brands themselves? Because they might go, oh yeah, I want a new Ispahan, I want a fucking an Amber Nuit, I want this, I want a Louis Vuitton type one. They might go and do that and have a shopping list, but they might also just go to the same flavor and fragrance company that make that for that particular brand, and they might go, hey, look, there can't be too many Oud Ispahans out there. Do you know what I mean? How many's too many? We'll knock you up one of those or something mildly, different, and do it. So is it really the fault of the actual brands themselves, or is it the people that are making the perfumes for them? They're doing this off the shelf. That then not an argument for there being too many perfumes. Going back to the original sort of question, if you're a brand that doesn't know and is going to a fragrance place and saying, oh, just knock us up 10 perfumes, whatever, and that then fragrance and flavour place is going, oh, there's this one and this one and this one, and giving them essentially clones,
then that would suggest that everyone involved in that transaction shouldn't be doing what they're doing.
But
it does.
I mean, I've worked with some of these flavour and fragrance companies, and they have got thousands of perfumes already on the shelves, just warehoused, waiting for someone to go, yeah, that's what I've been looking for, right? Which is fine. Absolutely fine. But this idea that too many of them are released, no, right? It's people are taking the commercial risk of releasing these perfumes. Let them fucking sink or swim, right? Will they be able to distort the market by whisking influencers off to, see their factory in Saudi Arabia? Yes. For a short amount of time, they will. They will generate some artificial fucking hype around a perfume. But honestly, if the product is not good enough, that hype is only ever going to be short term. And small brands making artisanal, niche, creative stuff, sure. They don't have the marketing resources to give out fucking hundreds of perfumes. And I know from Soma, and I'd hardly call Soma artisanal and niche, but at least we've tried to do something sort of new. But I know from experience with Soma that I cannot give out fucking hundreds of free perfumes, and I certainly can't afford to pay people to review them. And therefore, we're struggling to be as relevant and as competitive as other perfume brands. Is that something I'm going to get bent out of shape about? No. I am going to accept it as the way of the fucking world, and I am going to keep trying to work within those constraints. I am certainly not going to fucking go on Instagram and fucking complain about it, because unfortunately, this is just how business works, and I don't want to sort of personalize it with Brooke or anyone, but there was one person who kept replying to my comments when I was commenting on Brooke's post, and eventually what we got down to was this person's view that as a business, a business should be able to think about other things other than money. And that's fucking brilliant. I love that. You are absolutely right. Businesses should be able to think about things other than profitability. However, profitability is a necessary condition for survival, I'm afraid, right? So you can go on as much as you like about what cunts your customers are, but without customers, you've got no business. You've just got a hobby at that point. So anyway, that sort of brings me to the third point, which is this idea that do consumers somehow need protecting from themselves? And I'm on the sort of asocial free marketeer sort of end of that spectrum. I was like, no, fuck it. Let the consumers figure it out for themselves, because once they've spent their money on a bottle of Essence Vault. And by the way, I bought a bottle of Essence Vault for market research purposes. It was terrible. Like really terrible. But once they've bought that, they will know it's terrible. And if they think it's great, and then let them buy more of them, and that's their own lookout. They've got terrible taste. But
what was it a copy of?
Oud Ispahan, actually. No. Sorry, not Ispahan. The other one, the LV one, Ombre Nomad.
Oh yeah.
It was terrible. It was just insipid. It smelt wrong at the start. It smelt vaguely like it after about half an hour, and after about 2 hours, it was gone. And I was not surprised, because it was a fucking what was it like? I don't know, it's £10 or something. It was buy two and get free delivery or something. It was mental. They can't put out a decent product and then charge that sort of price. And my guess is anyone who buys that thinking that it's going to smell like Louis Vuitton Ombre Nomad is going to smell it. This is shit. I would rather have the real thing, or not. In which case they've got terrible taste and they deserve their terrible product. So. I don't know. You sort of, I feel like this is all self-correcting, and consumers will eventually get the product they deserve.
I think also we've said about, there's too much goes into marketing budgets and things like that. But when you're in a kind of oversaturated, you've seen, especially us, you've seen every possible kind of orange blossom perfume or every kind of this perfume or amber or whatever. There's very few surprises and very few, oh wow, eureka moment sort of things. So you know that they're all going to be stuff that you're kind of expecting. So what sets this brand out as, these are just niche chances this is bullshit, to these are okay with me. And I think that comes down to marketing to a certain degree. Do I buy into them as a product? Do I think they've got validity or something that they say in the marketing? Or I don't know. So I think I'm not going to completely throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that marketing is bullshit and I hate it all and all this kind of stuff, because that could be what differentiates two brands that have an iris one, a fucking leather one, an amber one. They might have all the same things and they might be perfectly passable good perfumes, but how does that brand sort of present itself to me? Does it appeal to me personally? There's kind of that to it as well.
I think sorry, James, go on.
No, that was it. Really.
I think one thing that struggles with perfumery, right, and it's relevant to every sort of product, basically, but I think where it shows quite a lot in perfumery is that perfume relies on marketing as a crutch heavily, because they're rarely a perfume company selling a perfume to a customer, right? They're selling a vision or an idea or a nostalgic dream, aspiration, or romance or whatever. They're all, you're selling an idea, and obviously all products have that, right? All successful products are doing that, but I think in perfumery it makes up a larger part of the product than in a lot of other products. Like the perfume is really 50%, if that. A lot of it is what that perfume suggests to you or says to you or whatever. And so I think we see it maybe a little bit too clearly in perfumery sometimes. The marketing is a little bit on the nose sometimes. And I think that's just unfortunately part of perfumery. It is what it is. But to be honest, I buy into it as well. I buy perfumes based on a name or a brand, or, look at Beaufort, one of my favourite houses. But I'll be honest, a big part of that is the branding and the marketing behind it. It's not everything, but it's a big part of it.
Yeah, and this has always been the case. People buy things with brands with which they sort of associate.
Look at Creed, when Creed first started, when Creed started really pushing heavy, and everyone was, this is the perfume that David Bowie wears or whatever. No, it's not. You weren't even around then. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean. And I, frankly, I don't have any problem with Creed. Creed can keep vomiting up, more perfumes.
No, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying that it's.
The only evidence we have is that he wore Miss Dior during the kind of Ziggy Stardust sort of period because it was on his dressing table.
Is that right?
Interview once.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. But we talk about the marketing budgets of brands, and I keep picking on Super's Budapest. They might have the best perfumes in the fucking world. I've never tried them, but but if we talk about the marketing brand budgets a company like that has. You compare that to the marketing for Dior or Gucci or Chanel. I mean, Hermes. It's not even fucking close. I mean, these guys are sponsoring fucking tennis tournaments and fucking, millions and millions of dollars of marketing budget. Not fucking sticking some chumps on fucking EasyJet flight out to bloody Qatar or whatever to sort of go wander around a factory for 3 days and stay in the local hotel, which is essentially what is going on with a lot of them. And they make their little videos, and some people might think it's tremendously fucking aspirational and think, I want to smell those perfumes because my favorite influencer says fucking, they went to the factory and it were great, but I just find it so difficult to give a shit, right? To really care and to sort of say, well, this shouldn't be happening. No, fuck it. Let it happen, because what it's doing is creating more niches. It's more fragmentation. It creates niches. It creates something interesting. By the existence of something shit, you create something nice. I mean, it's almost kind of like a logical sort of tautology. For something nice to exist, something shit has to exist in order for it to bump up alongside.
It's a backlash against the shit in a lot of cases, and it's a snake that eats itself, isn't it? Like you have the shit, so then you get the backlash, and then you get the shit that is then influenced by the backlash that's good. That they hegemonize it or whatever the mainstream.
Hegemonize. That's a good word.
It's always kind of like absorbing the underground, isn't it? And watering it down and making it palatable for the masses, and then the underground is in a constant. Both things are in a constant push and pull.
It's kind of eating its own shit.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Do they call it like Ouroboros?
That's
like
it, Ouroboros.
Snake eating itself, Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Just to come back to what you were saying there about something shit having to exist and something good. And it's a music analogy, and it's to do with David Bowie, so it's coming back to all the things that we're hitting on. I'm hitting on everything here.
Every fucking box.
Did you know that? Well, did you know that Life on Mars is actually based on another song? Do you know what song it's based on? The chord progression at the start of it is the same, and it was My Way, made famous by Frank Sinatra, right? Yeah. But originally, before David Bowie, I think he'd released one album in the late 60s or something, and he was not to very much commercial success. Nobody really knew him. He was a young kind of whippersnapper, but they gave him because some like foreign language, I think it's like Spanish or something, that original My Way song is in Spanish. The words are not the words of My Way, but it's just the melody and the tune, and basically they gave that to David Bowie to say, write us a hit from this, right? So he took the melody, and there's like original recordings of him just singing lyrics over the top of it, and they're not even the lyrics to My Way as we know it now, but he was originally tasked with doing My Way, and he loved the song. He was like, it's a brilliant song, I really want to do it. But then they ended up saying, well, Sinatra can't wait for you, so we need to fucking give it to somebody else. And they gave it to this Paul Anka guy who wrote what we know as My Way now. Sinatra played it out, and then he became sick of it after years and didn't want to play it because it was like seen as like bullshit and all this kind of thing. But it kind of revamped his career. Anyway, but the thing was that obviously David Bowie was pissed off as well, because he was like, I could have done that. I was working on it and it got taken off him. So he then vowed to like, right, I'm going to write my own My Way. And his version of My Way was Life on Mars.
So something shit has to exist for something beautiful.
Good to exist.
Well, and did you know that Bois de Portugal was Frank Sinatra's favourite story?
Creed, always there on
and that is how we roll here. So I am obviously I think if I'm sort of a fairly free marketeer on this kind of stuff, but I'm interested in exploring this idea of whether consumers need protecting from themselves, and I worry that there is a sort of snobbery from certain places where perhaps consumers are almost bollocked for their lack of taste or whatever, and I think that's not a good approach on the whole. I think berating customers or consumers for their behaviour seems to me a bad idea, and on the whole I'm happy to let them figure it out for themselves. I would hope that customers certainly certainly my customers, in the sense that the brands that I own, I would hope that they come back once they've managed to somehow find their way to me. I would hope they keep coming back, because they've enjoyed the product and they've enjoyed the service that they get. That's as much as I can hope for, and I think that's as much as any business can really hope for. Is, you know, once they found their way to you, if you can get them to find their way to you, so much the better. But I don't like this idea that we can be sniffy about people's tastes. If people want to buy Essence Vault perfumes, then let them buy the Essence Vault perfumes and be fucking happy. Would I rather they bought sort of a Guerlain or some sort of fabulous indie creation? Yeah, sure, I would. That might be nicer. It might create a more interesting world. But if they want to buy Essence Vault, fucking let them, because I don't care, and they're not my customer. They're not my target customer. They're not the sort of people I would tend to associate with. You know, I think they don't need protecting from themselves. Do you think we should be trying to stop people buying this stuff? Mobilize a campaign.
Well, anybody that gets to a kind of stage where I'll be interacting with them, probably they'll already have figured that out. So the kind of people that I speak to, you know, in the fragrance community or whatever, already hate clones. They already think like it's an echo chamber. They already think like I do. And, you know, if they think any different, I'd be like, bye, I don't want to be your mate. No, well, very kidding. No, very messing. I honestly don't have that strong an opinion about it, because I can fuck off into my own, you know, this, like vintage stuff or whatever you want. There's still room for me to be a thing, but I do think that there is a lot of shit out there that's superfluous and to me, but again, not to somebody else, obviously, or it wouldn't exist. But I also think there's too many things to exist for everybody as well, because there's a lot of crap, you know.
I don't want everyone I fucking bump into to smell amazing, right? And some sort of incredible sort of creation. I want to be
cool. You wouldn't
exactly. I want to be the guy who smells fucking amazing. I want to be the one where, you know, people go, "Oh, what are you wearing? That smells fucking great." You know,
if you go, you probably don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't
know it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew them before they were famous. But you know, if everybody smelled amazing, right, then everybody would smell average. It's that sort of I forget what the expression is, but you know, right now I've obviously drunk too much wine now. What I'm sort of getting at is, if everything, do you ever have to do performance management at work? Have you ever had to deal with that, where you have to give people a performance ranking, right? You have to say to people on a scale of 1 to 5 or whatever.
I should do, but no, I've never.
Okay.
Well, I never do that.
Well, sadly, I've had to do that a lot in my life. And the reality is, if you give everybody a top mark, a 1, then what you're essentially saying is that, you know, everybody is average. You know, this is the average round here and everyone's average. You're not differentiating at all. I don't want everyone to smell amazing. I want everyone to smell sort of bang average with, you know, lots of variation. And I want some people to smell brilliant. I want to walk down the street and smell someone wearing a fire within. I want to walk down the street and smell fucking Oud Satin Mood or fucking Derby or whatever. I don't give a shit, but I'm sort of passionate about the variety, and I don't see how you can be passionate about the variety without being passionate about the democratization and without being passionate about the fucking making it as broad and as numerous as possible in terms of releases. So I feel like my position is very much on one particular end of this spectrum. But But maybe we should actually have a campaign against particular brands, and so you're being lied to by these false prophets, these idiots, these.
I think the thing with that
charlatans.
I think the thing is, it's very easy to forget, right, that not everyone is as passionate about this as you, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like there is too many perfumes, but who cares really? Because someone out there is going to buy it, and someone out there is going to like it. And you know what? If it's shit, then that's fine. If they're happy, then that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like people, not everyone gives a shit about what notes are in their perfume. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's real oud or not, or if it's got a fucking saffron note or not. Some people just sniff something and go, yeah, that's nice, costs a tenner. Yeah, happy days. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's fine. Do you know what I mean? And then there are some people like us that sit there and agonise over whether or not we should spend 500 quid on a bottle of perfume because it may or may not have just quite the right note of oud in it, or the
fecal matter.
Yeah, exactly. That one's not hasn't got enough shit in it. Then I'd buy it if it was shittier. But
I celebrate the existence of people who write to James and say they want the Ford Mondeo of perfumes.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is the cannon fodder we need in order to feel special.
I nearly just told him to fuck off straight away. What are you asking me for? Do you know what I mean? What no, fuck you.
Do I look like I know what the fucking Mondeo of perfumes is?
Yeah, exactly. No, but I also appreciate that's because I kind of I like the idea of like consultancy, right? I like that someone would come to me and go, you know about this subject, can you help me? And I'd be like, yeah, I will. Like say I've written little dossiers for plenty of people who've approached me, and I tell them where they can get it from, how much it is. I put a little picture of it in.
Really? Do you know what? Who's that fucking bald egghead looking doctor?
Oh yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah.
He's an absolute fucking charlatan. But apparently, and I don't know whether he's still doing it, but apparently he offers like £50 a pop cent consultations where he'll tell you what perfume you should buy. You pay this guy money and he will presumably recommend Bleu de Chanel or something equally fucking inspiring.
I feel like reporting that cunt to the fucking NHS or something, don't you? Like, is he doing his job properly? Offering perfume fucking
perfume consult. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine like actually being willing to pay that guy that money for that.
It's better than what's her name? She charges 10 grand.
Who?
But she'll make a perfume for you. To be fair. What's her face?
Sarah McCartney.
I was going on about Azzy Glaser.
Azzy Glaser. Somebody recommended one of their perfumes the other day because apparently Noel Gallagher was fucking obsessed with it, and it's not a Noel Gallagher composition by Azzy Glaser. It's
right.
It was a perfume he did for someone else. He, she, they. Yeah. And it was a vetiver perfume.
Yeah.
Apparently Noel Gallagher had sort of posted a picture of it, and then Liam Gallagher had been asked what the most memorable thing about their reunion sort of meetup was, right. And he said our kid's perfume or our kid's aftershave, and it was a reference to this Azzy Glaser Mr. Vetiver, I think it's called, or something like
that. Yeah.
So anyway, this certain someone is going to send me a sample of it because they bought it and said they didn't have high expectations, but actually it's fucking amazing. So
as much as I kind of jokingly sort of slag her off because I don't like all the celebrity shit, I have got 2 of her perfumes, you know.
Oh really? Which ones?
I've got the I've told you about this before. I've got the James Lavelle one. So she James Lavelle, which kind of makes sense that she would be like mates with like Noel Gallagher as well, maybe. But also the Anthony Gormley one. So she did one with Anthony Gormley called Iron. So she legitimately knows like all these people and does these things for them, and I've no doubt they can probably afford to it and afford to have perfumes made. And she does ones for like where if they've got a role for a film or something. Like she did one for Jude Law. And like Johnny Depp and stuff like that. So I mean, 10 grand, you would argue, she lives in London. It's, that's probably the going rate for fucking anything.
Well, I mean, I've got to ask, why bother with a 10 grand consultancy with a perfumer who will make you a bespoke thing when you could get some egg-headed cunt off the internet to do it for 50 quid, And just tell you it's Bleu de Chanel.
And he
why
might be
bother?
able to inspect your anus at the same time. Or whatever he does. I just imagine he's like a proctologist or something.
I used to spend 10 grand to get someone to make me a perfume, but now I just buy, what is it? Fucking copycat perfumes or whatever. I used to be an idiot who spent 10 grand.
Yeah. Now, big brain decision. Okay, well, look, I think we should wrap it up in the spirit of me getting increasingly drunk and reckless with what I say. So I think on balance, we've had a pretty good yarn. I should stress again that, look, if people want to go and read Brooke's original post on her Sancelia Instagram account, I think they should. It's a fascinating read, and Brooke is an extremely erudite writer. She has incredible taste in perfume, and I have nothing but respect for her opinions. And so, nobody, especially Brooke, should take this as any sort of assault on her personally, I hope. But I thought there were some really interesting points in there and worthy of a discussion. So hopefully that was all taken in the spirit in which it was intended. James, any final thoughts from you, sir?
Yeah, I largely agree with pretty much what she said in her post. Like I say, I think we all come at it from different angles. She's within the industry, she's got a platform of brands that she curates, so she will obviously have her own taste and things that she thinks. It's all very it's very objective, isn't it? Like the subjective even. It should be objective, but it's very difficult because I try and like remove myself as a sort of reviewer. This is again another thing that conflicts when you've got brands that are interested in you talking about their stuff and you having this kind of remaining objective, is always the kind of goal. But there will be things in the marketing that you read that kind of puts you in a certain mind about a perfume or makes you more tolerant of it or whatever, because like you say, the smell is often, I think it's got to be, things have got to dovetail together between the marketing and the smell, and everything's got to come together in this kind of perfect spot for me personally to be like, I respect this brand, I like this brand, I like what they're doing. And that could so easily be just off to the point where I'm like, nah, fuck that brand. I don't want to try anything from them, even though they might have a really good thing in there. And I think it's very few and far between that you find, there's no sort of l'artisans or Serge Lutens or stuff like that anymore, really. And we're not going to see an emergence of that. I don't think. Again, I think that was like a certain time in perfume where I think the space now is more crowded, and even the niche and the people who are obsessed with it. There's a lot more perfume like community than there was, going back years ago. So, well, there certainly seems like there is. So I think it's just a natural progression of what's happening. I don't like the clone brands. I don't like a lot of the shit. I don't like the fact that, there's a sort of homogenized thing, and a lot of brands are going towards the fucking Ford Mondeos. I mean, I could have just said, go and try any of the output from, a lot of these brands now, and you'll get yourself a fucking Mondeo, But anyway, I haven't lost hope though. I'm not on the, it's a fucking wasteland. to quote the Duck again, that was fucking brilliant. That when he said it's a fucking wasteland,
it's a fucking wasteland out there.
So depressing, just like the whole fucking thing. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. But there's still hope, and there is, and and just from my own personal thing, right? I get into things, and I think Ben's probably the same way, right? Where you want to create something. Like, I know you've got brands and stuff, Dan, but it's not like you wanted to become a perfumer and then create and then make some fucking artisan glass that you've blown yourself and shit like that. That's the kind of thing that I would like to do. And I understand that that's not a commercial venture. That's not something that's got like legs to go. I mean, it could do, but I doubt it ever would. But I still want to do that at some point. You know what I mean? And I don't feel
need quite a large float, or you have to be prepared to not make money for quite a long time, I think.
Well, and this is another thing that you said, that you hit the nail on the head. That a lot of people come at this from a very emotional place where they don't understand that it's a business, right? It's a fucking business, right? And running a business is really hard, and you don't get to make all these kind of ethical decisions that like people tell you how you should be doing shit, and you're like, have you ever run a business? Do you know about fucking business? Do you know what you're talking about? No, you fucking don't. So you can't lecture me about ethics and things, because at the end of the day, turning a profit or making money, or even just, keeping yourself afloat, keeping the fucking lights on, is the most important thing at the end of the day. And I don't think people should like sell their soul, but like, but there's got to be an understanding of that. You're not just I'm a collector. It's all about me. It's all about me in this scenario. It's not, and that's not where I'm coming from with my critique of some of these businesses. I understand that they've got to exist and they've got to do it. I'm going off fucking on tangents, but largely, I didn't find anything that particularly Brooks said or other people who've said very similar things to be. To like make me feel anything really, other than I kind of somewhat agree with that, and maybe that's what the problem is with perfumery. I don't know, but yeah.
No, and actually, the more I reflected on Brooks' post, I don't disagree with much of it, but I just can't fucking walk away from an argument. I just love a fucking debate. It's literally hardwired into my personality. I will argue cases that I don't believe in just because I enjoy the fucking argument. Yeah, and not like an argument as in a fucking hurtful thing. It's just I enjoy the
that's all right.
Well,
and thrust.
I enjoy the pursuit of it. Have you ever done the Myers-Briggs personality type test? It's worth doing. It's very interesting. But my personality type always comes back as ENTP, the debater. I will debate the shit out of pretty well anything for any reason at any time, because I'm a dickhead. Ben, final thoughts from you?
Yes, largely this is what we've already said. Like, I have some sympathy with the idea that there's too many perfumes and stuff like that. But on the same side of things, I'm in my blood almost like a kind of. I don't give a shit, about that stuff. I like what I like, and that's important, and that's all that's important to me. And all the other noise, I just ignore. But I it's almost in my blood to believe in their right to exist, and that's the good and the bad that comes with them, because I'm not saying that their right to exist is all good, in a lot of cases it's all bad, but unfortunately if you're going to believe in their right to exist, you have to accept they're bad, and that's and like we say, I don't think you can have one without the other as well. I think it gets very difficult. So I have some sympathy with the arguments that that these things shouldn't exist and things like that, and Lord knows I would love to be ruler of the world and come down and strike out all the things that I hate.
I think you'd be very good at it.
I'd be a proper dictator, that's for sure. If you think you're just walking to the polling booth and voting on voting day, you got another thing coming.
You'll do what you're fucking told, you cunts.
But But yeah, I find it hard to say that they shouldn't exist, really.
Okay. Well, that's good. I have loved the spirited debate, so thank you for that, guys. I sorely missed Fliss, as I know you guys will have done too. Nevertheless, we shall return in 2 weeks' time with yet another episode of Les Oderants. But until that time, have a fantastic couple of weeks, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.